They thought she was just a janitor and invisible nobody scrubbing their floors while they strutted past in designer heels and crisp suits. To them, she didn't matter. No one bothered to learn her name. They laughed behind her back, rolled their eyes when she entered a room, and dumped their coffee cups for her to clean. But what they didn't know was that the quiet girl with the mop had a secret that would turn their world upside down. Her name was Maya. She worked long nights at the company's headquarters, cleaning offices while the elite team upstairs planned the next big launch. They were the faces of the brand, polished, loud, and always ready to show off their power. Maya, she was just the background, or so they thought. The truth, she was married to someone they had only ever seen in boardroom portraits and press releases, the CEO himself. But Maya never said a word. Not when they mocked her clothes, not when they sent her to clean up their messes after late-night parties. Not even when one of them told her she didn't belong in their space. She stayed quiet, watching, learning, remembering every face. And every name. Then came the day everything changed. The CEO announced a surprise visit, one that sent panic through the office. But nothing could have prepared them for what happened next. When Maya walked into the boardroom that morning, it wasn't with a mop in her hand. It was with power and a purpose. What she did next left the entire staff speechless. The same people who looked down on her were now waiting for her decision. And trust me, she didn't disappoint. But before we get to that moment, let's rewind a bit, because Maya's story didn't start at the top. It started at rock bottom. Maya had never planned to work there. In fact, she had promised herself she'd never step foot in her husband's company unless she absolutely had to. But life has a way of testing people. Just a few months before, Maya had been living a quiet life, comfortable, far away from the chaos of boardrooms and business politics. She and Daniel, the CEO, had agreed to keep their personal and professional lives separate. No one in the company knew they were married. That was the deal. But when Daniel's health took an unexpected hit, everything changed. He needed someone he could trust inside the company, someone with eyes and ears on the ground, not behind a fancy desk. That's when Maya stepped in. She took the lowest job on the ladder to stay unnoticed and learn what was really going on behind the scenes. What she found shocked her. It wasn't just snobbery, it was cruelty. The so-called top performers treated support staff like garbage. One manager even laughed when a young intern cried in the bathroom. Another woman not a last to brag about how she could make someone quit just by giving them the silent treatment. And Maya, she was their favorite target. They thought she was slow, uneducated, and beneath them. They made jokes when she walked past, slammed doors in her face, and once even made her clean up a spill that wasn't hers. Just because they could. But Maya never cracked. She took it all in. Every conversation, every insult, every fake smile. She learned who was loyal and who was a snake in heels. She wasn't just mopping floors, she was collecting receipts, and soon those receipts would come in handy. Because the woman they thought they could push around was about to turn their whole world upside down. Maya noticed patterns quickly. The company looked perfect from the outside: high profits, a sleek brand image, glowing reviews. But behind the glass walls and marketing slogans, there was a toxic culture eating it from the inside. The biggest issue: a clique of senior staff who thought they were untouchable. They didn't just bully junior workers, they shut down good ideas, covered up their own mistakes, and made sure only their friends got promotions. It wasn't just bad behavior. It was affecting the company's future, and Daniel had no idea. Natalie was the ringleader. Always dressed sharp, always loud. In meetings, always quick to shift blame. She had built her own power circle: people like Mark from finance, who manipulated numbers to make their department look better, and Priya from HR, who quietly deleted complaints instead of handling them. anyone who didn't play along, pushed out bit by bit until they gave up and left. Then there was Jonah, a quiet analyst Maya started noticing. He was different, overworked, overlooked, but smart. She saw him get his ideas stolen more than once, and yet he never spoke up. One night, while cleaning the break room, Maya found his notebook left behind. Inside were detailed breakdowns of problems he'd uncovered, cost leaks, shady vendor deals, and project delays caused by the very people pretending to be heroes. Maya realized then that it wasn't just about office drama. The company was being drained from the inside by the same group that mocked her every day. She knew she couldn't confront them yet. One wrong move, and they'd bury everything. So, she stayed silent, watched closer, and started keeping her own records. Because the storm was coming in when it did. The people at the top wouldn't see it coming from someone they thought didn't matter. The tension at the office was reaching a boiling point. Whispers about an upcoming board inspection had everyone on edge, especially Natalie and her circle. They started working overtime not to fix anything, but to cover their tracks. Reports were edited, numbers inflated, and employee feedback mysteriously disappeared. Maya watched it all unfold, her calm expression hiding the storm brewing inside her. She knew the truth, and she knew their time was running out. Meanwhile, Deng's recovery was moving slowly, but he was growing more curious about what Maya was seeing. Every night, she'd come home and share what she'd witnessed quietly, carefully. She didn't want to act out of anger. She wanted to make sure that when the moment came, it would be undeniable. No excuses. No way out. Maya had gathered enough evidence, mails, altered reports, even screenshots of deleted complaint logs. But she needed one final piece to bring it all together. That came unexpectedly one late evening when she overheard Natalie on a call in the conference room. The door was slightly open, and Natalie, unaware anyone was nearby, was bragging about how she manipulated the last promotion cycle. She named names, laughed, claimed no one above her cared enough to look deeper. Maya hit record on her phone and stood frozen, heart pounding. The next morning, a company-wide email arrived. The CEO himself would be visiting the office for a surprise all-hands meeting. Panic spread like wildfire. Everyone was guessing, scrambling, trying to predict what was coming. Natalie tried to act cool, but her forced smile and snappy tone gave her away. Behind closed doors, her team was in full damage control. But it was too late. As the meeting hour approached, Maya stepped out of the shadows, no longer wearing her janitor's uniform. And when she walked toward the boardroom, the entire office went silent. Maya's footsteps echoed through the hall as every head turned. She wasn't holding cleaning supplies. No mop, no gloves. Just calm confidence and the quiet power of someone who had nothing left to prove. Her hair was tied neatly. Her clothes sharp and elegant, nothing like the uniform they used to mock. Natalie's face dropped the second she saw her. For a moment, no one knew what was happening. Some whispered. Others stared, confused. But Jonah just gave a small nod. He knew as Maya entered the boardroom, Daniel was already seated at the head of the table, looking stronger than he had in weeks. The top executives stood awkwardly, unsure whether to greet him or pretend they hadn't just been in full cover-up mode for days. But what really shook them was when Daniel gestured for Maya to sit beside him. No one said a word, but the tension was thick. Natalie's eyes darted back and forth. She was trying to piece it all together, but nothing about this made sense to her, until Daniel spoke. He introduced Maya not as an assistant, not as a guest, but as his wife. The room froze. Faces turned pale. Whispers stopped mid-sentence. All the titles, all the arrogance, crumbled in seconds. But before anyone could speak, Maya pulled out a folder and placed it on the table. Just when it felt like the truth was about to be revealed, the door opened again. This time, It was someone from legal. He walked straight to Daniel and handed him a letter. A whistleblower complaint filed anonymously, but stamped with official company investigation approval. Another layer to the storm no one saw coming. Maya looked around the room. She hadn't sent the complaint. Someone else inside? The company had, and that meant she wasn't alone. The room felt like it was holding its breath. Daniel slid the letter to Maya, and as she read it, her expression didn't change, but something in her eyes lit up. This wasn't just about her anymore. Someone else had seen what was happening. Someone had risked everything to speak out. And that gave her exactly what she needed. Maya stood up and began laying out everything on the table literally. Copies of fake reports, proof of deleted complaints, audio clips. Even Jonah's notebook, filled with timelines and financial inconsistencies. Every eye in the room shifted from Maya to Natalie, then back again. Natalie tried to interrupt, tried to laugh it off, but her voice was thin now, shaky. Mark and Priya stared at the floor, their silence louder than any excuse. Then came the final blow. Maya turned to the legal rep and calmly asked, "Would you mind checking the sender of the whistleblower complaint?" He nodded and pulled out a sealed note he had brought as part of the formal report. He read the name quietly, then looked up with surprise. It wasn't Jonah. It was Natalie's assistant Emily, the one she constantly ignored, talked down to, and once screamed at for bringing her the wrong kind of latte. She had seen it all, from the shadows, just like Maya once had, and finally decided enough was enough. Natalie stood frozen. Her carefully built image collapsed. Daniel spoke up then, clear and direct. "You've misused your position, manipulated the system, and hurt this company's people. Effective immediately. You and those involved are terminated." Gasps filled the room. But as security entered quietly to escort Natalie and her team out, Maya turned one last time and smiled, not out of revenge, but relief. The story was finally out. Justice was served, or so she thought. Because just as the boardroom emptied, Daniel leaned in and whispered, "There's one more thing I haven't told you yet." Maya blinked, surprised by Daniel's words. "There's one more thing I haven't told you yet," he said, his voice low. She leaned in, heart still racing from everything that had just happened. Daniel smiled gently and continued, "I've decided to step down as CEO. I need to focus on my health and I've already recommended someone to take my place." Maya stared at him, confused. "Who?" she asked quietly. "You," he said. Maya's breath caught. At first, she thought he was joking, but Daniel was serious. He had seen her strength, her patience, her ability to listen and lead without needing a title. The past few months had been her proving ground, and she hadn't even realized it. She had walked into that building as a janitor, But she had uncovered what none of the senior executives ever dared to touch: the truth. Over the next few weeks, everything changed. Natalie and her circle were gone, and their replacements came from within the overlooked. The hard workers, the people who had been dismissed just like Maya had been. Jonah got the promotion he deserved. Emily received public recognition for her courage. And Maya? She stepped into her new role with quiet confidence, not because she wanted power, but because she knew what it meant to use it right. The company slowly started to rebuild. This time on values that matter: respect, transparency, and real leadership. People no longer walked on eggshells or hid in silence. And no one ever looked down on a janitor again. Maya's story became something more than office gossip or a dramatic headline. It became a reminder that no one is just anything. Respect is not earned by job titles, but by how you treat the people around you. And sometimes, the one they underestimate most is the one who changes everything.